So guys, if I look online and I look at estate agents on social media, their jobs are driving up to a house, do a quick video tour, put it on social media, cash their check, go home. So is running a self-employed business easy as it looks online?
I wish it was.
Why did I ask that question?
Selling sunset, actually. Yeah. It's much like that.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I think to kick it off, I think it's so easy to get yourself down when you look at what everyone else is doing. I've had countless conversations with you, Dan, about, is he really doing that? Is he really doing this? And what you got to remember about social media, for me, it's a highlight reel.
Absolutely.
In real people's lives as well as in our lives as well, in terms of the agency UK. So actually, there are some real struggles, I think, that are out there. And I'd rather be honest about that rather than trying to sell a dream, because you're going to walk away from that very quickly otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. I think with social media, which you allude to because of the videos and all of that fancy stuff you see, there's constant, when you're on social media, there's constant adverts popping up about how to get rich quick. And there's a lot of, the kids' society of today, I'm quite worried for. I've got 2 daughters and I think actually, when I talk to them about what they want to do when they're older, it's all social media driven. And they think they can just sit there and make loads of money via social media. And I feel like that's a bit of a dangerous, that I alluded to earlier about there's, a bit of a influencer estate agent type versus an actual estate agent. And probably what some people don't really see is the graft and the hard work and the late nights, the early mornings, and it's tough. Being self-employed is tough. There's no consistent source of income. You're potentially having to rely just solely on yourself to provide for your family, et cetera. And no, it isn't easy, in all honesty. But if you've got the right attitude and you're determined and you're disciplined and you're consistent and you really want to see it succeed, absolutely, it's there for everyone to succeed.
I think I'm going to take a slightly different approach to it and say the principles of what we do is very easy, but the reality of actually having to put it into practice is the hard bit.
Yeah.
And I think, as Nelly said, I think as Dan said, I think if you look at social media, it's a highlights reel, isn't it? You only ever hear people talking about the success stories and about how they've sold their next property or how they've earned this amount of money.
Yeah.
But actually, if you pair it back to what the people do on the ground on a day-to-day basis, we've all said throughout the day today, haven't we? It comes from hard work. It comes from consistency. It comes from choosing 2 or 3 things that you can do and do them well.
The basics, right?
And one of the recent, I had a conversation with the guys earlier. I put a recent post out about, a fall through. You don't see many agents posting bad news.
No.
And
I was going to ask about fall throughs because I had an experience in my first, in year 1, where someone shook my hand, signed a contract, $8,000 fee. A week later, it sold in the notice period with the previous agent, and that hit me hard. That's $8,000 out of my pocket. When again, you feel that harder.
Yeah.
The highs are high when you're self-employed, but the lows are very low when you're self-employed. So it's as I said, it's not all kind of sugarcoating it to say every day is really successful.
Yeah, and that's important.
There are days that are hard work. There are days that are less successful. But again, it's about picking yourself back up and going again, isn't it? And working out and doing those things that got you through the front door in the first place.
I've got a prime example of, I'd done an open day and I had 19 viewings. It originally was meant to be a 2-hour slot. I had to extend it to be 5 hours to fit in 19 viewings. Come the Monday, didn't have a single offer. So that's incredibly tough mentally to think, hang on, I've just put 5 hours of my life into this. How am I going to explain this to the seller that I don't have a single offer? However, you stay positive, turn it around, and eventually, with a bit of patience, it does come back around. But
And I think it's having that mindset again, isn't it? Of look at the long term, look at long term business growth rather than short term wins. Again, we've all come from high street agency, we've all come from kind of corporate backgrounds or independent high street agent backgrounds, and I think too many agents are chasing quick wins. And I think if you try and look at long term business growth, and I said you can have your good days, you can have your bad days, but you'll have more good days than bad days if you're consistently persistent with what you do.
Absolutely, consistency is the key. But I do think, using your example about the 19 viewings and how am I going to explain this to the vendor, I see that as a positive, because for me, just listening to that one sentence there shows me you care.
Yeah.
And there are so many
and how
agents.
many agents out there can you say exactly that? UK, you managed to generate 19, you generated 19 viewings and you're disappointed with that. Yeah. And you're disappointed with that because you haven't got the one offer of that 19 viewings that sells the house for you.
100%.
But you put your heart and your soul into.
But that's the difference between self-employed. You know, you
put your heart and your soul
into it. I cared
into
in the
it.
high
I think that's
street,
key,
but actually, and I genuinely did. I saw it as my name above the door, but not many people do. And I feel like with the self-employed world, that's I lie in bed on a Sunday night thinking I haven't delivered for that vendor on Monday. and I genuinely give a shit about my clients, excuse my language, but you do care about them. And I think that's the real difference, because in the high street, love it or loathe it, you've got 50, 60 vendors you're dealing with. You probably can't afford to really care too much about, their scenario, but actually.
And also in the high street, how many times have you had it where you're in the chain with someone, it's not going well with the agent above, you're trying to call the agent above, sorry, he's not here at the moment, or she, they're out on appointments, you can't get hold of them because they run away from the problem. So actually, I think back to us, we care so much that we're worrying on a Sunday, how am I going to explain this to the vendor? How am I going to make this call? But you do it, and then you come up with a solution for them as well.
And I think that goes back kind of full circle to the question, doesn't it? I think none of us find the job hard work because we enjoy what we're doing. We're incredibly passionate. We care, but is the job hard work? It's as hard work as you make it, isn't it? If you care and you enjoy what you do, then it's not hard work. But the principles of what we do, quite simple. But you've got to put the hours and you've got to put the effort in.
But with self-belief, with consistency and determination to succeed, especially with the 30% advance commission that TAUK now can offer, for me, it would be a no-brainer. Anyone that's thinking about it, do not think about it, because if you believe in yourself, you follow those principles and you utilize all of the people that are around you, there's 3 years worth of work that's gone into TAUK now. When we started, we didn't have that. It was a new company. It was a baby. It was a new brand. So you didn't really have a lot to fall back on. Tom's gone out on valuations, and Tom covers Bristol, and he's able to use examples of types of houses, be it if they're big homes that other people have sold within the industry. Within the model under the TAUK brand. So we can help each other, and actually anyone coming through now, I'm not saying they should find it easier, but they've got a lot more leverage to make their business more successful as quicker than maybe we could have at the beginning. Yeah. So
a lot more social proof.
Yeah.
Which at the
that
time
was
when
the first question I got asked when I went and knocked on the first person's door was, I hear what someone's doing in Swindon, or I hear what someone's doing in London, but show me an example of what you've sold in this area. And that's the hardest bit, right? When you start and you've got no social proof, you can talk. You can talk and you can say everything you think is positive, but until you've got some social proof to show it, at least now we can say as a network, we're 3 years into this. This is the success Dan's having in London. This is the success Nelly's having in London. Yeah. This is the success other people having across the country. It's the same marketing. It's the same principle. It's the same low volume, excellent service model. Give me a chance and I'll demonstrate to you, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, that I'm worth the money you're paying me.
Dan says, if I wasn't successful, I wouldn't be able to buy this gold Rolex on my wrist. So.
That's it. You're going to stay.
This is why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Turkey. I don't wear it on appointments. Don't wear it. Casio, Capital watch. So I'm adding up my fee.
We've mentioned that obviously estate agents talk about their successes quite well, but they don't talk about their sort of, I wouldn't say losses, but the things that didn't work out quite so well. So we can all understand the fact that everyone wants the best for their client. No one goes purposely out their way to mess up a sale or lose the keys or whatever else it may be. Why do you think estate agents are so bad at sharing their losses? Because they seem really good at sharing their wins and say, I've done a brilliant job, I've got a completion, I've done an exchange, I've got 10 grand over the asking price, but they don't share the fact that I've had a fall through the day before.
Because they don't have a solution. They don't know how to figure out that problem. They don't know how to manage that expectation of the vendor. And in all honesty, I don't think they're trained well enough in the high street to be able to deal with that.
And I think that's something within our network, actually, that I think most people that are within the network, they all talk quite organically, quite authentically and say, I've had a tough day today, or I've had a fall through, that's hit my back pocket quite hard. But again, it's that switch of mentality of turning a problem into, well, I've got another listing that I can sell again there, or I've not won that bit of business, but I've done the right things to get through the door in the first place. So I think it's that kind of shared, again, team ethos of
I think it's
everyone has a dull
from a
day,
client's
everyone has a tough day, but how can we move forward from it?
I think it's human nature at the end of the day. No one wants to talk about how bad their life is going on, or how bad their job is going. They want to talk about the successes. But actually, I think, like Dan, you've alluded to, that if you're honest, you're genuine, you can talk about the bad story that then turned good. You can turn that negative into a positive. So maybe estate agents should be trained a little bit better on how to deal with those
I
conversations.
just think, there's people that deliver news, because we all been there where, managers or valuers go out and sit on the sofa and deliver the valuation. And then that client never hears from them again. They get passed to the trainee, to handle them, because there's 50 pieces of stock and you get 10 to deal with, you get 10 to deal with, you get 10 to deal with, you get 10 to deal with. And the manager never wants to deal with them again, because they're going to get egg on their face potentially for over promising, under delivering. But for me, I've just agreed to sell last week. This house came on the market in March last year. I sold it 3 times, fallen through 3 times. No one's fault, just circumstantial.
Yep.
But sticking with it, being honest, regular visits to the vendor, sitting in front of them at 8, 9 o'clock at night, having coffee with them, reassuring them, and just working hard to make sure that, we do deliver, or I do deliver.
I've had a similar example where I listed a house and I sold it for 100 grand less than I listed it for. And you think, 100 grand less than I listed it for?
This is 40
but
grand
again, I've
less
worked
than
with
the
that
first
client
offer.
over a 5, 6, 7 month period. I've talked to them every week. I've done the best I can for marketing for them. I've told them to be patient. I've had a really close-knit relationship with that client to the point where, okay, they could have gone elsewhere plenty of times within that 5, 6, 7 month period, but they've listened to my advice. I've worked with them. We've gone through the low days where we've got no viewings, no interest, and we've come out the other side of it and we've achieved the sale that we set out to achieve. By just being honest and being authentic about the process and about ourselves and what we set out to do.
The third fall through was just before Christmas. I've arrived home to a bottle of brandy on my doorstep from the vendor who I just told had a fall through for the third time.
That's
for me, that's I didn't expect it, but it's just like, okay, I'm doing something right. It's not always delivering bad, and that's why I say to you about social media. I make a point of saying I've had a fall through, because it's not. Actually, my success rate is quite high compared to the industry. I sell over 90% of what I take on the market.
On social media, unexpectedly back on the market.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's fallen through, right? Just be honest.
What about price
reposition?
Price readjustment.
You want up? No, down.
Yeah. New price.
Yeah. I mean, I was selling my neighbour's house in my close, a very small close. And it took about 2-3 months. And I kept apologising that we wasn't getting the success that we was getting. It was due to outside influences. Let's not get it wrong. But at the same time, she was like, "No, don't worry. You're getting viewings through the door. You're giving me feedback. There's nothing more I can ask for. You can't hold a gun to someone's head and force them to buy a house. All you can do is everything else around it. Good marketing, good pictures, good feedback."
Goes back to that original question: is running your own business hard? When you break it down, I think that it's actually quite easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You talk to your customer regularly. You've given them good marketing. You've updated them on what's happening in the area. You've talked to them about their price. You've done everything you can do to try and help them sell. And as long as you're communicating with them, then there's not an awful lot else you can do, really, is there?
No, I completely agree, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been really valuable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.